Under the bright lights of New York City, she believed her life was finally beginning. She had played in small bars, on subway platforms, in every corner where music could be heard. People said her voice could stop time. And for a moment, it did. A video of her singing went viral, reaching ears she never expected. Then came the message. A well-known foundation was hosting a charity concert in Georgia. They said it would raise money for victims of injustice. They said she was the perfect symbol of hope. They sent contracts, tickets, and warm words about changing the world through music. She packed her guitar, her mother's locket, and a heart full of gratitude. For the first time, she believed her talent was being seen for what it truly was. But what she didn't know was this. Her dream invitation was the first step into a nightmare. When the car pulled up at the airport, two smiling coordinators greeted her. They spoke politely, carried her luggage, and assured her everything was arranged. The drive was long, the roads unfamiliar. She tried to stay calm as city lights faded into dark countryside. Her phone lost signal hours before they stopped at an old estate surrounded by silence. "Is this the venue?" she asked. The driver didn't answer. The other man opened her door. "We're here," he said flatly. Something inside her twisted. This wasn't a hotel. There were no lights, no guests, no music, only a gate closing behind her. When she turned, one of the men was holding a gun. The other snatched her phone. "You won't be needing that," he said. Her breath caught in her chest. She tried to scream, but the sound barely left her throat. They forced her inside, down a hallway that smelled of dirt and fear. A door slammed behind her, and for the first time she realized no one was coming to help. The girl who once sang about freedom was now a prisoner of silence. Hours blurred into darkness. She woke to voices outside her door. "New one arrived?" someone asked. "Yeah," another answered. "City girl. Thinks she's special." The door opened. A man with cold eyes tossed her a uniform, plain, gray, numbered. "Put it on," he said. "From now on, you don't speak unless spoken to. You work, you eat, you sleep. That's it." She stood frozen, trembling. "There must be a mistake," she whispered. "My name is—" "You don't have a name here," he interrupted. "You're 47. The number echoed louder than any insult. She pressed the thin fabric against her chest, fighting tears. The man pointed toward a dirt path outside. Under the pale morning sun, others were already working. Men and women, eyes hollow, bodies moving like machines. Some looked new, others broken by years of silence. One woman glanced up briefly, their eyes meeting for a second before a guard's shout forced her back to work. That brief look said everything. Don't talk. Don't fight. Survive. The young musician who once sang to heal others now dug into the dry earth with blistered hands. Every sound, a whip crack, a shout, a cry, sliced through her like broken glass. Her mind begged to wake up, to believe this was some cruel mistake, that someone would come asking where she'd gone. But no one did. Days passed. She learned the rules. Wake at dawn, obey commands, never speak her real name. Food was a privilege, punishment, a routine. Each night she lay on a thin mat, whispering the lyrics she once sang on stage. It was her only reminder that she was still human. The guards called it a work program, but she knew the truth. This was slavery, hidden in the 21st century, dressed in lies and silence. The men who ran it called themselves businessmen, but they were traffickers, profiting off stolen lives. One evening, as she scrubbed floors inside the main house, she saw a television flicker in the corner. A news anchor spoke about a missing young artist from New York, her face on the screen, smiling, alive, free. She stopped breathing. "That's me," she whispered. A guard heard her, slammed the TV off, and dragged her back outside. "Forget who you were," he hissed. "That life's gone." But she couldn't. Even as fear swallowed her voice, something inside her refused to die. Each insult, each command, each hour of forced labor carved a new promise inside her. If she ever got out, she'd make sure the world knew. That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling of the shack, stars barely visible through cracks in the roof. Somewhere her family was searching, praying, hoping. Somewhere her music still played. And here, surrounded by walls and darkness, she whispered one sentence to herself again and again, as both prayer and vow. They can take my freedom, but not my voice. The guards thought they had broken her. They didn't see what she was building inside. The quiet fire, the memory of a melody, the belief that even in chains, a song could survive. Days blended into each other, marked only by the sound of chains and the burning sun. Time moved differently there, slow, heavy, cruel. Amara stopped counting mornings because every one of them began the same. The whistle, the shouts, the dust. But deep inside something was shifting. She no longer cried at night. She watched, she listened, she learned. Each day she noticed small things others ignored. The guard who always checked his phone near the fence, the loose board behind the storage shed, the names the overseers called each other when they thought no one heard. They believed fear had erased her mind. It hadn't. Fear had sharpened it. Among the workers, whispers spread quietly, passed between tired hands and stolen glances. A woman named Mabel told her there were dozens of others, taken the same way, some from bus stops, some from shelters, some from concerts just like hers. They keep us invisible, Mabel said softly. People think slavery ended. They just changed the name. Those words stayed with Amara. Every shovel of dirt, every silent meal, every cut on her hands became proof of what the world refused to see. At night, she began to draw lines in the dirt beside her bed, maps of fences, patrol paths, storage areas. She memorized the guards' routines. Reed patrolled east at dawn. Cole smoked near the barn every sunset. Hale visited once a week, always leaving through the same gate. When others broke under punishment, Amara helped them hide small bits of food, whispered songs to calm their breathing, shared what little she knew. She became their memory, their quiet hope. One evening, she overheard two guards talking. "New buyers coming next month," one said. "They'll want strong ones, no troublemakers." Amara's stomach turned cold. She knew what that meant. Those who resisted disappeared. That night she made her decision. She would no longer wait for rescue. She would become it. The change began in her eyes. Reed noticed first. "You look different," he muttered one morning. "Don't." But she didn't lower her gaze anymore. She wasn't 47. She was Amara Lewis, and she was remembering who she was. Days later, during a food delivery, she spotted a man she hadn't seen before, thin, nervous, eyes darting like a hunted animal. He wasn't dressed like a guard, but he moved among them. Later, she saw him drop something behind the barn, a folded piece of paper. When night came, she crawled to the spot and picked it up. 3 words were written inside. "I can help." Her heart pounded so loudly she feared it would wake everyone. The next day she looked for him. He avoided her gaze at first, then whispered when no one watched. His name was Daniel. He had worked there years ago, helping transport workers. He'd believed the lies about rehabilitation programs until he saw what really happened. He'd tried to quit, but Hale's men had threatened his family. Now guilt was eating him alive. "There's a way out," he said, "but you have to trust me." Amara hesitated. Trust was a luxury here. Still, something in his eyes looked human. That night, Daniel slipped her a torn map and an old phone with a cracked screen. "Signal's weak, but if you reach the hill past the orchard, you'll find reception," he said. "Send your name, your location. Someone will see it." "Why help me?" she whispered. He looked away. "Because someone once helped me." The plan took shape quietly, piece by piece. Amara shared coded looks with Mabel, signaled to others to prepare. They couldn't all leave, too dangerous. But if one escaped and told the truth, maybe the rest would be saved. Every heartbeat felt like borrowed time. On the night of the escape, clouds covered the moon. The guards were drinking near the main house, laughter echoing over the fields. Daniel unlocked the back gate, his hands trembling. "Go," he whispered. "Don't stop." Amara ran. her bare feet cutting on gravel, lungs burning with fear and freedom. The air smelled like rain and smoke. Behind her, alarms began to scream. Lights flashed. Dogs barked. She ran faster, clutching the phone to her chest. A shot cracked through the dark. She didn't turn. Every step became a prayer. When she reached the hill, she dropped to her knees and raised the phone high. For a long second, nothing happened. Then, one single bar of signal appeared. With shaking fingers, she typed, "Amara Lewis, kidnapped, held in Georgia, help us." She hit send and prayed. A spotlight swept across the field behind her. Voices shouted. She ran again, slipping through trees until her legs gave out. When she woke, the sun was rising and the world was silent. She thought she'd failed. But hours later, helicopters cut through the morning sky. Sirens wailed. Smoke rose from the compound. She could hear the chaos in the distance. Orders shouted, people running. She didn't know if Daniel survived. She didn't know if Mabel was free. But she knew this. The truth was out. Someone had read her message. Someone had seen her name. For the first time in months, she smiled through tears. Her body was bruised, her voice hoarse, but her spirit was unbroken. The girl they tried to erase had just made herself impossible to forget. As she lay in the tall grass, exhausted and trembling, she whispered the same words she had said on her first night in captivity. Only now they sounded like victory. "They can take my freedom," she breathed, "but not my voice." The world would hear it soon enough. The world outside the compound didn't wait. Within hours of Amara's message being sent, authorities swarmed the isolated property. Helicopters circled overhead, sirens shattered the dawn, and men who once believed themselves untouchable were dragged into custody. News anchors barely contained their disbelief as footage from the raid spread across every screen, every device. Headlines screamed her name. Young musician escapes modern-day slavery. Heroine exposes hidden human trafficking ring. Justice arrives in Georgia. Investigators uncovered the hidden network of forced labor, trafficking routes, and falsified records. Every detail Amara had memorized, every observation she had recorded in secret, became evidence that could not be ignored. Marcus Hale and his coordinators, once so confident, found themselves powerless. Their accounts were frozen, their reputations destroyed, their empire crumbling before the world's eyes. Contracts were voided, investors withdrew, and the public demanded accountability. Lawsuits were filed, communities rallied, and the victims they had kept silent finally found a voice through Amara. She testified tirelessly, her presence in the courtroom a quiet storm. Each word she spoke carried the weight of months of captivity, of stolen lives, and of resilience no one could break. Judges delivered sentences that matched the severity of the crimes. Prison terms were long, fines were crushing, and the media captured every moment. But Amara's mission had grown beyond punishment. She became a symbol, a beacon for those still trapped and those who had survived. Within weeks, she launched the Amara Lewis Foundation, dedicated to supporting victims of modern slavery, providing legal aid, safe havens, and education to rebuild lives. Her story inspired others to come forward, to demand change, and to fight injustice wherever it lurked. Months later, Amara returned to a stage, not for a charity concert, not for fame, but for truth. She lifted her guitar and looked out over an audience that spanned thousands in person, millions online. Her fingers trembled slightly as she strummed the first chords, but her voice rang clear and unwavering. She sang of freedom, of courage, of the power of a single voice to ignite change. Cameras captured her every expression, news outlets amplified her every word, and social media carried her song across the globe. Each note resonated with hope, defiance, and the undeniable truth that no chains, no matter how strong, could silence human spirit. The audience rose to their feet, some weeping, some cheering, all knowing they had witnessed a story of triumph against insurmountable odds. And as the last chord faded into the night, Amara whispered to herself what she had believed all along. Freedom belongs to those who fight for it, and justice cannot be hidden forever. Her journey, once marked by fear and oppression, had transformed into a testament of resilience, courage, and moral victory. The impact of her story continued to ripple outward, motivating lawmakers, inspiring communities, and reminding the world that every life matters and that every act of courage can topple the most entrenched systems of power. Her voice, once silenced, now carried beyond borders, stirring hearts, opening eyes, and encouraging others to stand up for what is right. And now, as you've witnessed the full journey of Amara Lewis, remember that the fight for dignity and justice is ongoing. Every action counts, every voice matters. Voice. If her story moved you, let it echo further. Subscribe to her secrets, her stories like this video to share her courage, and leave a comment telling us which moment touched you the most. Because stories like hers aren't just for watching, they're for remembering, for sharing, and for inspiring change.